haven't met me before, I am Sarah Gallagher, and I am the host of our Facebook Lives and the founder of this group as well. I am a widow of just hit 7 years now. I have two young kids, one who is my boy, and he is 9, and the other is my daughter, and she's 5. So it's been 7 years. My son was 2.5 when my husband died, and I've gone through it all, and I've helped others through it, and I want to help you through it too, which is why I got this group together. Today, I want to talk about something very, very important, and it's something that I really think every widow has to go through, and I want to be able to explain to you what to expect and what you need to do to basically what the title of this is, that it's the 3 empowering mind shifts to conquer grief and reclaim your life. So when you have lost your spouse, as you know this probably too, when you lose your spouse, you not only lose your person, but you also lose your best friend, the shared life goals you had with them, and your own identity. Everything you had is gone in seemingly an instant. Even if it was a death that was expected, or was just sudden, no one is ever prepared for death, and no one. The trouble with grief is that it comes out of nowhere and it hits you, and all of a sudden, that old life you used to have when they were alive isn't there anymore. It's died with them, and you have this feeling of like, what am I going to do now? I mean, we had these plans. I'm still here. My son actually was talking about the fact that it's very much similar to like Minecraft, where you die and you have a restart and you get to restart your life again. But you're an adult and you have kids and you have a house maybe, but it's just you. And all those plans you had with the other person, they're not there anymore. So it's kind of weird. I thought it was a very good analogy, actually. So learning from my own experience as a widow and from reaching out to other widows over the years, I've been able to map out the 3 empowering mind shifts that you need to conquer grief and to reclaim your life. Now, I say conquer in a sense that I'm not saying it's ever going to go away. Okay, your grief is with you forever. But you can maybe tame with a better word, actually. You can tame your grief into stop being this horrible, in your face, look at me, jealous, this horrible grief just takes over everything. 2 can be very morph into and mature into a very solid companion. I'm going to break them down for you, okay? There are 3 these 3 mind shifts. They're mind shifts that every widow or widower goes through during the grief journey, okay? And I want you to make notes if you need to, okay? Get your note. They are reassess, redefine, and rebuild. Okay? It sounds so simple, but it can take years to understand what these necessary mind shifts are and why they're so needed. Now, I know that you don't want this healing to take years, which is why I wanted to be able to create this guidance for you to help you conquer your grief, tame your grief, and reclaim your life again. So the first is to reassess, okay? So this mind shift, it can be the toughest to get through, and only because it delves into who you are, and that right now, you don't really know who that is anymore. And you're kind of dealing with other things like grief and everything else that's going on, and which is why when I should have said this before, and I had to put this in my notes now, that I wouldn't recommend you start working on these until you're at least 6 months into your grief. At least, like I would even say, give it a year, even a year and a half, 2 years, because the first while, especially the first 6 months, are just this haze of craziness going on, and you can't focus on anything, let alone try to focus on you. And it's not until later where your grief is kind of calmed down a little bit, and the fog is starting to lift, and reality is starting to kick in, and you're in that middle area where you're not sure whether you want to stay back in your old life and going to the new one, or you do want to go to that new one, but you don't know how to get there. That's what this is about, okay? So if you're not there yet, don't worry. Keep this in your back pocket for when you are there, okay? Because this is what you're going to have to go through. And I really should have brought this up beforehand. And I'm glad I'm doing this live and figuring this out on the fly. So the first pillar, the first mindset, again, let's not do this. Don't attempt to do this until you are ready, because this is a deep dive. It's a very important part of the process, and when you start doing this, it's going to kind of open up some your own self, because you probably haven't had a chance to look at yourself besides like the grief and the craziness of the emotions and everything. This is going to be the first time you're actually going to sit down and think about you and deep dive into you, unless you've gone to therapy, and maybe you have. But this isn't some kind of kooky thing, or I'm not saying it. Back up. These are actionable steps. This isn't some kind of therapy. These are actionable steps. Okay? All right. Let's continue. I kind of went off link there. Okay, so this is a mind shift that can be hardest to get through, because we are going to be delving into you. And what we're going to do is that what you are going to do is that you have to discover what you will discover as you delve deep into yourself. This will become the basis of your own personal path out of grief, because everybody's path is different, right? Your own grief is different. Your own way out is different. And I'm not going to tell you what that is. I can't tell you what that is. You know what that is. You just got to figure that out. Again, this is going to be, that's why you have to start deep diving into yourself to figure this out. So the first step you want to do is you want to delve into how you identified in the past. Okay? Who were you? What did your spouse admire about you? What did he see or she see that no one else did? What did you feel about yourself, your true self, when you were around him? Because I find that when I was around my husband, I felt like more of myself, because he kind of radiated off me, and I could see more what I was than before, right? Because it was yin and yang kind of thing. But also times, aspects about me would be amplified and by being reflected in him at the same time. So let's look into that. What were you? What gave you those senses of oomph? What gratified your soul? What did you do that really made you feel whole and well, and you're on the right path? So take the time, and again, this could take some time, because you're going to be talking about the past, and that's difficult to deal with it already. But you're also talking about you, and you're going to be delving into deep things about you. Okay, part one. Take as long as you need. Take a day, take a week, take a month. It's up to you. Again, your own path, your own way. Part two, once you're done with the first part two is taking on the present. Okay, we've gone to the past, we figured out what you are. Let's look at the present. Have you accepted that your loved one is dead? Have you? This is a big step, because the heart and the head are kind of at two different points right now, right? Especially when you first go through a grief, and one of them is yelling at you, the other one's yelling at just different things, and you're trying to get them to talk to each other, and it's not working. A big part of that is trying to accept or realizing that your loved one is dead. And that's another reason why I said you don't want to do this until you start getting out of that fog and you start realizing that reality is hitting, because that's when you're going to realize, wait a minute, this is real, this has to happen. So if that is the case, and that means you're ready for this, okay? You've accepted it, or if you realize that you're you're figuring that out, it's real now. Have you accepted that your life has to change now? Because you can't be who you were in the past, because that's a completely different person. Death has changed you fundamentally. And again, this is your own way of doing it. I don't know how it changed you, but this is what you have to figure out. Figure out what is making you want to do that step. What is that tug? What is it that you want to, and don't just say it out of grief, because it's bigger than that. Grief is, again, something that's going to be with you forever. You can't get away with it. You can conquer it, but that's not why you want this tugging. Something is making you want to go forward. What is that? Can you identify it? Can you delve into what is about you that has changed and is so good about you now that you can now marry into your soul and use that to go forward. And again, this could be not as long as the first part, but it could still take some time, because again, this is you really self-evaluating, and it can be painful, it can be glorious. It's your path, but you need to get your head in the present. Where am I? Where do I want to go? If you don't even know if you want to go there yet, but kind of figure out what those tugs are. Can you identify those? We'll figure out life goals and how to get there later. Right now, what is tugging you? What makes you you right now? Okay. Now, in part 3, what we do then is what you will have to do then is you have to take part 1 and take part 2, and everything that you've broken down for those 2 sections, you are going to use those to create your own path. Okay, this is the exciting part. This is where things start coming into play. So you take the identity that you had from before, pieces of that still work in your life now, pieces of you now that are new, that didn't exist before, can now be stacked onto that. And now you have this wonderful filigree of past self and present self, and it becomes you, right? It doesn't have to be too separate. This is what I'm trying to say. This is your path. This is when you accept everything. This is who I am. This is how I'm going forward. And you're going to use this as the basis to figure out where you're going. So that step, again, this is a lot more self-reflection, figuring that out, getting that down on paper, writing it out, and it can take, I don't know how long it'll take. Again, sorry, let me back up again. Once you figure it out, it's not set in stone, okay? Because as life changes, so are you. And as you change and evolve through life, your path obviously will become clearer as you change and you evolve as we continue through this process. So don't worry about trying to get this hard and fast down now, this journey now. Get the foundation of it. Get the bare outlines of your map, and you'll use that as the basis for your next steps. Okay, so that was reassess. That was your first empowering mind shift. You still with me? Okay, next step is redefine. This is where you're going to explore how you've changed and what you need to do to redefine your identity. It's the next little while of the next mindset's all going to be more passive. Okay, there's a lot of deep diving into before. I was very active. We're not going to do, that's done. Now we're going to be doing some more subtle shifts that are much more passive. What I would recommend is that you take this time to really figure out what that definition is. So we figured out before how you guys are melding, right, from your past self and your present self. Now that you know that, and you now kind of know your boundaries, now you need to explore those boundaries. Try things you haven't tried before. Try things that you always wanted to try but weren't able to. Think about things. Things that you couldn't do when your husband around because you didn't like it. Like, for instance, let's say, I'm totally making this up because, but let's say pretend that my husband didn't like the skiing, and the reason why we never went skiing was because he hated it, and I really wanted to go skiing, but I didn't want to go without him. It's something I want to do. Now that he's gone, I'm free to do that. It's lonely because he's not there, but that's the case anyway, so why not just go out and try to do it, right? This is a new me. This is where I'm going. There are so many self-help books out there if you want to do this on your own. There are different techniques in meditation you can do, but just really what you need to do is figure out who you are now, what things do you like now, what you've always wanted to do that you couldn't do before. And as you're doing this, you're going to be playing with this new concept of self, and you're going to be using these introspective methods to fully temper your new sense of self. Okay? Now, overall, this redefinition stage, again, it's passive. You're not going to be like, you're going to do it when you can, and you're going to be, again, self-reflection in this case is more experimenting. I would say take a good month to do this part, okay, just to really try to more well-define who you are now. Redefine you. Pillar number 3, the mind shift number 3 is rebuild, where you create life on your own terms. Okay, so now you figured out what your boundaries are. You found comfort in your own skin, hopefully, finally. And now that we've done that, now it's time you have to now rebuild your future. Now, this is the part that gives me chills when I see people go through this, because the transformation at this point is amazing. So the first step, and it's going to sound really weird, but you will need to refresh your friends list. Yes, that's harsh. But you know exactly who has been a friend to you during this time and who hasn't. You gotta kill that list. Get it down. Who's been here? Who's actually a friend? Prioritize. Like, really, I mean, you don't want to keep people around you who can't be there for you because you can't be taking care of them because you're worried about their feelings than how you're feeling. And unfortunately, it means that maybe you're going to be calling a lot more than you wanted to. But you know what? Like, unfortunately, we've talked about this before in other lives. A lot of people can't deal with grief. A lot of friends you're going to lose, or they're going to change to the point where you don't really identify with them anymore. Which, understandably, you're a completely different person. Look at this. We're redefining you right now. We're going to call that list. Call that list. Figure out who's there, who's not. I mean, every now and again, people call their Facebook groups their Facebook friends. They put it the same kind of way, but on a deeper level. Then, after you've done that and you figured out what is left over, let's bulk that list up a little bit, okay? You can't be alone. Nobody can be alone. Nobody's on an island. Everybody needs their community and they need to be around each other. So, what I would recommend you do is that you explore to make new connections that get who you are right now. Okay, so let's say like you can get involved with your community. Find some widows groups. I have a widow group myself. Obviously, you're a big part of it, you know, and that's what I'm trying to build and get a more community out there to be here for each other. Go ahead, make friends with your kids' parents. Sorry, your kids' friends' parents. Oh, your kid parents too. Anyway, you are your kids' parents. Making friends with your kids' friends' parents can also be really good too because that you have a common interest there already. Your kids, like if they're in the same school, the same grade, they go through the same trouble. You're the same neighborhood kids, you live in the same neighborhood, get involved in, yeah, like bake sales or stuff that's happening in your community. Get more, find those connections, find in the opportunities. So yeah, so I'm thinking up. I'm going to have to do a lot of editing on this one when I repurpose it. Sorry guys, you got this live. There are so many different opportunities to create new supportive connections. Take advantage of them. Then you're going to take all that change that's been going on in the inside and you're going to wear it as a label of confidence on the outside. This is important because I find that there are so many different shifts that happen in yourself when you become a whale, which you don't even want. And now we're shifting out of that again. And there's all that work and all this turmoil and everything about you is changed on the inside. But nothing's really changed that much on the outside. Okay, maybe you've gotten a little older. Like I know I aged quite a bit in the first year or two. Still now, but only being, anyway, you get older. But besides that, you want to be, there's this need of being able to say, okay, I've changed. I want to wear this because no one else can understand how much fundamentally my life has changed, and it's important to get that out there. So that's what you start to think about and say, okay, how am I going to do that? So maybe it could be with a new haircut. Maybe it could be a tattoo. So a new wardrobe, some new clothes. Something that works for you that kind of shows off who you are now. It changes. I went from, if you want to go to my website, which my About Me page, I have two pictures of me. There's before, where I had long blonde hair, and then there's the after, where I had my short, spiky red hair. Completely different personality. Kind of. Different identity. Different on the outside to show how different I was on the inside. And this is COVID hair now. I'm not even sure where I'm going with this. I have to anyway. But figure out something on the outside that you can do. Tattoos are really popular. I did get one myself with my first one. Wasn't expecting it to be a memorial tattoo, but there it is. But do something that shows people on the outside. It can be a subtle thing. It can be a drastic thing. It's up to you. Whatever works for you. What can you show to on the outside that's different? Oh, and whether it's okay to take off your wedding ring or not. Can you hear that? Whether it's okay to take off your wedding ring or not. I'll talk about that more in a different post or a different live, but just thinking about that. What's good for you? Okay, then the last part. This is the really big one. Obviously, just rebuild, redefined, and then refocus. Now, this is the cap off. Okay, it's a complete refocus. You're gonna go back into everything. You're gonna look at everything you worked on. You're gonna find that perfect synergy. And we take that and you're gonna turn that inwards and you're going to find your current strengths, your new life goals, and your new wishes. Okay, this is the whole entire process, and this is the same process that everyone goes through. Okay, this is something, this whole entire process, this is what I call reclaim your life. By the time you've gone through it, you're going to be in a much happier, more stable place, and you'll know that you can move forward in your life towards your newly discovered life goals and with the memories of your loved ones supporting you. So now that you have the blueprint on how to access these 3 empowering mind shifts to conquer your grief and reclaim your life, you could do this work on your own. It's absolutely possible. I've given you exactly how you can do it. Or you have another option. You could work with a seasoned widow who's gone through this process herself and has helped others go through it too. This process I have very specific ways of how each step works and how to get to that next step. Again, you can do it completely on your own, but if you want someone to guide you through it, to help you along, it's a process on your own. Again, I'm not sure how long it would take. With me, it takes about 3 months, which I know sounds ridiculous, and it could be more or it could be less, but generally that's the average, is about 3 months. You're going to get from where you were to where you want to be. Okay? I promise you. And I don't want you to take the years needed to process it alone. I don't want that for you. You've waited long enough for your life to start. Now, and if I told you, this again, I've condensed all of this into a 3-month program, and it will take you just 3 months to get through. This is your life. These are your terms. I'm not telling you what to do, right? I'm just giving you different options. I'm not going to tell you what your path is. Your grief is unique. So is your journey. But I can help you discover that inner beacon inside you that helps you steer you and that guide you onto your own path. I can be your trusted co-pilot because unfortunately I've had a bit more experience. I wish this program was around when I was going through my grief. I would have saved years of struggle. I became exactly what I wish I had. Kind-hearted, never fake, ever supportive, fellow widow that gets it. If you're ready to take that first step into conquering grief and reclaiming your life, email me or DM me with reclaim in the email subject or reclaim as the text to me in my DM. Or take a moment and book a call with me, like through my discovery calls, or DM me so we can do that. I want you to find out what your transformation could be, if you're ready, and if you want me to be there with you.